own personal soul growth, there are really only 3 tools. And this is all through the Edgar Cayce information on the stag group readings, on the mental spiritual counsel readings, on the soul growth readings. And essentially, these are the tools for soul growth. Setting spiritual ideals. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But an ideal is simply kind of like a beacon, something we'd like to have more inside of us, like being more loving or being more understanding or more compassionate, to set a spiritual ideal. The second one is to work with personal attunement, especially through prayer and meditation. That somehow, as we attune our consciousness to something beyond ourselves, we will grow spiritually. Truth is that we are much more than a physical body. In fact, we're not really a physical body. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And to work with personal application. And that somehow, if you get these 3 tools going, you will transform yourself, you will transform your household, you will transform the world. And that's the premise in the Cayce material. You will raise your vibration. So, what did Edgar Cayce have to say about ideals? He said, the most important, see that? The most important experience of this or any individual entity is to first know what is the ideal spiritually. Now, 40 years ago, when I first started going to ARE programs, you could hardly go to a program anywhere without doing an ideals chart. In fact, quite honestly, I got sick of doing ideals charts. So I used to bring my chart with me so I didn't have to do it over again, kind of missing the whole purpose of the exercise. But there really is a focus in the readings on the importance of ideals. And where can we find ideals? Actually, they're essentially the fruits of the Spirit, which you can find in Galatians. Things like love, joy, peace, long-suffering, which most people don't realize that when we're long-suffering, it's not about moping or dragging or someone says, what's wrong? Nothing, I'm being long-suffering. No, long-suffering is about determined endurance. You're going to go the distance no matter how long it takes. Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperaments. So what I want us to do, and Kevin, if we can have the lights up for this, we're going to use an exercise that will help us pick a spiritual ideal. And you have a handout in your packet that basically has 3 columns. It almost looks, I think mine is a little different, but it looks like that. Yours probably doesn't have the colors. Everyone, finding your sheet is probably the easy part of this exercise. Okay. And in order to make this actually easy for each and every one of us, I want us to move our chairs and get in a group of 5 or 6. And I would suggest getting in a group of people who look really smart. That would be my recommendation. What I'm going to do is, this exercise is very much like Cayce's approach to meditation. And Cayce suggests there are 2 stages of meditation. One is thinking the affirmation, like I am at peace, and you think about that sentence, I'm at peace. And the real stage of meditation is trying to feel a sense of peacefulness deep inside yourself. Trying to hold an awareness of peacefulness throughout your body. When we actually hold that awareness, we're actually meditating. So I'm going to go through a list of the fruits of the Spirit, and I want you for just a moment to try to see if you can feel that statement throughout your being. And when we're done, we're going to pick the one that felt the best. Everyone see that? Because my feeling is that if you pick a spiritual ideal that really resonates to you, you're more apt to work with it. So let's close your eyes and let's breathe in relaxation all the way through our body. Just breathe in relaxation all the way down to your tippy toes. And I want you to see if you can feel what it feels like to have peacefulness throughout your entire being. What does peacefulness feel like? Peacefulness. You won't have to remember these words or write them down because I'm going to go back and repeat them. So peacefulness. The next word is joy. What would joyfulness feel like throughout your entire being? Joyfulness. The next word is gentleness. Invite every cell in your body to know how it feels to be gentle. The awareness of gentleness. The next word is goodness. See if you can feel a sense of goodness within you that longs to reach out and help those around you. Goodness. How does goodness feel? Our next word is love. Hold an awareness of love throughout your entire being. The awareness of love. The next word is humility. Begin to feel a sense of humility within yourself. Our next word is faith. What does the awareness of faithfulness feel like? And the final word I want you to try to feel is oneness. What does oneness feel like inside yourself? And I'm going to go back through and restate the words we just did. And I want you to just, when we're done, pick the one that felt the best and write it in your spiritual ideal column. So our words are peace or peacefulness, joy or joyfulness, gentleness, goodness, love, humility, faith, and oneness. You can open your eyes and just pick any of those words and write it in the spiritual ideal column. If you don't have a handout, raise your hand. I should have asked that. I need a handout over here, Rosie. Do you have a handout? There's one here on this chair right here. Here. Thank you. There.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we're okay with our handout. So this is what we're going to do. So we all have a spiritual ideal. Casey's approach to working with ideals is really about how we bring spirit into the earth. We have a spiritual ideal, and then we have to come up with a list of attitudes that will help to create that spiritual ideal, thing that we're going to think. So one clue is whatever we have as our ideal, we can also have as our attitude. That's one. So if my ideal is love, another attitude might be compassion. Another might be forgiveness. Another might be oneness. We could have a whole list of attitudes here. So what we're going to do in the next 5 minutes is we're all going to come up with 4 to 6 attitudes to put in our attitude column, okay? And then the second part of that is we need to eventually, we're going to have to take this home to finish it, but eventually what you need to do is to create an activity, a to-do, for every attitude on this list. So for example, with forgiveness, I've created an activity for self, which would be to pray, meditate on forgiveness, and then create an activity for others, make an effort to be the first to apologize, etc. So what we're going to do as a group is you're going to quickly go through and you're going to create 4 to 6 attitudes, and then I want you to try to come up with at least 1 or 2 activities for at least one of the attitudes on your list, and your group's going to help you do that. Okay, does anybody, staying where you're at, does anyone need help with an activity? Anyone have an attitude they need an activity for? Raise your hand. Anyone have an attitude they need an activity for? Okay, yes. What's the attitude? So connectedness. Her attitude is being connected to the universe. What would be an activity for connectedness? She's got prayer meditation. What else? Volunteering somewhere, going out and volunteering with someone in your community would be a way to do connectedness. What else? Yes?
I think walking barefooted on the ground.
Okay, walking barefooted on the ground, connecting with the earth. Okay? Grounding yourself. Okay?
General groups,
Being in communities of some kinds, groups of people. Any other attitude that we need an activity for? Yes?
Gentleness is my activity. activity. I have checking my energy when speaking with others, but what are other gentleness?
What are other kinds of gentleness activities that she could do?
Petting animals.
Petting animals, okay. Being in nature, meditating on gentleness. Okay, any other activities? Any other attitudes we need an activity for? All right, so you get the general idea. So what I invite you to do when you go home is continue to fill out your ideals chart with a couple of activities, if you can, for every mental attitude on here. Now let me show you something that lots of people don't realize. Remember, Casey suggests that there are 3 tools to transform the world: ideals, attunement, and application. And in reality, the ideals chart, the spiritual ideal, is about ideals. This is about attunement. What are we attuning to? And this is about application. In other words, if you want to be this, you need to think this and you need to do this. So an ideals chart is really about bringing spirit into the earth. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to put your chairs back exactly where they were before you